If you're building up quite a bit of discard in your fridge, I think you should make some sourdough discard chocolate chip cookies. We took our family favorite recipe and I did a little fiddling with it so that you can use up the discard. Did you know you can use your discard in your regular family recipes that you've been making for years? I'll share exactly how I adjust my recipes, and I'm going to tell you how to make these amazing cookies. They're soft, just a little bit crunchy on the outside, a little bit cakey. They are so delicious. Everyone's gonna gobble them up. Here's the cool thing with using sourdough discard to adjust any of your family recipes. Essentially, you are going to take a half a cup of that sourdough discard cold from your fridge, which weigh yours. See how much it weighs? Mine almost always a half a cup weighs about 130 grams. Well, because my recipes are written in cups and tablespoons, I take that half a cup of discard and I use that to replace 1/4 a cup of flour and 1/4 a cup of whatever the moisture is in my recipe. That's how I adjust all of the family recipes. Now for this chocolate chip cookie sourdough discard recipe, I already adjusted all of it, and everything I'm putting into my bowl is down in the description below. Just click the more button and you'll be able to see everything that we are putting in to make these cookies today. So what I started with was 112 grams of butter, which is half a cup of butter. Make sure that your butter is softened. It's so important for it to be softened or room temperature because it allows it to incorporate into that sugar and get really creamy. Now you'll see that I put 45 grams of shortening. You could do coconut oil, but I have found that this little tiny bit of shortening gives the cookies this really great texture. It's up to you though. If you are like, I am not into shortening, you don't have to use it. You can use butter in its place. Then you're going to do 160 grams of brown sugar, 150 grams of granulated white sugar, and you're going to cream that until every ounce of butter is creamed into the sugar. You don't want to have any chunks of butter in your dough. Then add in 2 large eggs. Get that whipped really good. Same thing with the eggs. We want to make sure that they are fully incorporated into that creamy sugar mixture. And then we're going to add in 5 grams of vanilla, 6 grams of baking soda, and 6 grams of salt. And that is approximately 1 teaspoon of each of those elements. I really like to put my baking soda through this little mesh sieve because I get these big bags of baking soda and sometimes they get little tiny baking soda balls. If you have noticed that in your baking soda, put it through that little mesh strainer because those baking soda balls will not incorporate in your dough. And when you get a bite of them, it is not good. So make sure that you do that. Now let's pull out that cold discard and let's add in that 130 grams. Now, if you have a bunch of fed starter on your counter or leaven, you can use that for this recipe, but I want you to make sure that you chill the dough once it's all mixed up. Because when you use active fed starter to mix up your dough, it is much softer and it basically has more, instead of being cold in the fridge, it is more moist, which will make your dough more moist. And you're going to think that your dough is going to need more flour when all it really needs is to chill just a little bit longer. Once your sourdough discard is incorporated into your dough, then you're going to add in 290 grams of flour, which is approximately 2 1/4 of a cup. Get that mixed into your dough really, really well. Then add in 230 grams of chocolate chips. Now, here is the biggest tip that I have for you. Make a test cookie. I know that seems like, what? Why would I bake just one cookie? If you used cold discard straight from your fridge, I want you to scoop out 1 portion of cookie dough, bake it at 375 for 9 to 10 minutes, and I want you to see how it bakes up. Everyone's discard has a little different consistency just simply because your kitchen climate is going to be different than mine. If your cookie is super, super flat and you're like, oh man, I want it to be a little bit like fluffier and cakier, then add another 1/4 a cup of flour. If you bake yours and it's really, really cakey, then I want you to add just another tablespoon or two of butter. This is how you're going to get the best consistency for your cookie dough. Once you're happy with the consistency of how your cookies are baking up, bake away, get them all portioned out. And this little cookie scoop is honestly my absolute favorite cookie scoop. We're going to put the link to it down in the description below as well as a bunch of other really fun discard recipes. So if you're new to our channel, click on over and come and bake some more with us. Now, here's what the cookies look like when you need to take them out of the oven. They're a little bit golden around the edges, they're puffed up, and they have little tiny air bubbles. That's when you want to take them out. Let them rest on the baking sheet for about a minute, and then use your cookie spatula and loosen them from the baking sheet before they harden on there. Now, I'm putting the link to the cookie spatula below too, because it is honestly the best. It's really flexible, easy to get under. Now, I don't like to use parchment paper if I don't need to, because I don't need to waste it, but you just need to make sure that you get the cookies off your baking sheet before they completely cool. That's what makes them stick to your baking sheets. Now, here's another little bonus tip for you. Whenever I make a single batch of cookie dough, I always actually make a double. I just double it because it doesn't take that much longer. Then I don't bake all of those cookies right then. That's way too many cookies for us to eat before they go stale. Instead, what I do is I take a big baking sheet, put a piece of parchment paper on it, and I portion out that cookie dough onto the baking sheet. I'm not baking them on this baking sheet. Instead, I'm going to cover it. I'm going to pop it in the freezer so that all of these cookie dough balls freeze individually. Once they've been in the freezer for a couple hours and they're frozen, I transfer them to a freezer safe bag or a container. And then guess what? We can have cookies any day we want. To bake a cookie from frozen, put the cookie on your baking sheet, let it rest at room temperature for about 35 to 40 minutes, then bake. And here's the goodness that you will get to enjoy any day of the week. Soft, fluffy sourdough discard chocolate chip cookies. We look forward to baking with you more. Come hang out over on our channel. Join our family table membership for even more behind the scenes help, whether you're baking or gardening. We can't wait to help you fill your table with joy.